Welcome to the Big Biz Show.
Taking care of business.
You want fast-talking, hard-hitting discussions on business and finance? Maybe with a barroom slant and some really salty peanuts? We're not counting calories. We're counting cash. Before we get to the man with the financial plan, meet the money team. Costa, Mary, and Greg. Now Captain Finance himself, Sully.
From the beautiful Loft 100 studios in sunny Southern California, wherever you're watching, wherever you're listening, welcome aboard and welcome to the Big Biz Show. You're always a family member here.
Wow.
I'm Costa.
Mr. Rogers Show.
I know.
Yeah.
What's happened
Godwin,
with that
our
sweater?
executive producer is Greg.
And the Day Traders Trio. Say a big hello to the DTT. Hey, look who's still in New Jersey at the Microcap Conference. Howie and Devon are sitting there. Well, I guess Devon.
Oh, they're coming back?
Oh, there he is with the small caps.
Oh,
A lot of microcaps.
Small caps, I see what you did there.
Micro caps. Hey, listen, it's after talking to you guys yesterday, do you see guys like scratching ink on things and congratulations and lots of cigar? Mind if I mark buys? Cigars and stuff like that, or is it more?
There's actually a cigar booth here, and last night there was cigars and a whiskey tasting.
Yes.
On top of a comedy show. So there's a lot of venue type stuff that you get to do here. It's not just business. It's a lot of mingling.
Doesn't sound like there was any business, frankly. It sounds like you were drinking and smoking cigars the entire time.
All day, these guys are speaking to each other, mingling, coming to each other's tables. There's no booth setup. There's no siloing. You're all right there next to each other. It's kind of a cool environment. So I have seen a lot of handshake deals. Yeah, I don't think the lawyers have gotten involved, Sully. Nothing's pen to paper yet. Yeah. But I think this is an important, area for people to mingle.
I think, from what I understand, we got Mike DePasquale. We'll see an interview next week with, who we've interviewed here in the program. David Lucci from Acurex Bio.
The Luch! Big fan.
And he's there. And then I saw you interview someone, Devon, on a company called ONAR, which is a marketing company.
Yeah.
That sounds like a pretty cool deal, too. So we'll get to see him. We'll play that stuff on the air next week, I'm assuming?
Yeah, we got that interview coming towards you guys pretty quick, but just that company in general was a really cool concept. I never thought about it before, but they're kind of like a greenhouse for other companies where they let companies...
Yeah, and their CEO's a really cool, really impressive guy.
Yeah, he used to represent the Chainsmokers.
It's not the same.
Oh, no kidding. The Chainsmokers. The band? That's one of the
Yeah, the band.
No, the
this guy
retirement
was
home.
one of the top studios in New York at 18 years old.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
He was in the music business.
Hey,
And now he's just doing this.
Were there companies that you saw there that were in different industries? Because obviously the watchword in all of small cap Wall Street has been biotech recently. Are there other sort of, just like you mentioned there on that company ONAR, are there other industries there, Howie?
Yeah, so the largest company, the bulk of the market cap actually is from this $1.2 billion company, which still counts as microcap, which is a point of discussion during the conference, and it's called micronuclear or nanonuclear.
Nanonuclear. This one freaked me out.
And they make, like it says, small nuclear reactors for emergency generation and hopefully for making a decentralized, local power grid. So instead of having a nuclear power plant, a 3 Mile Island.
Well, we have
3-yard islands.
Last time I checked, we have 63 nuclear power plants right here in San Diego Bay. They're called submarines. Thanks for calling. And looking forward to little tiny ones that can use those micro caps there, Devon. You guys have a great time. Thanks for checking in. We'll see you guys next week as you send some over your content.
Great.
And,
thanks so much.
We'll find some people to interview for us. That sounds like good stuff. I've been to those, and it sounds like a big yawner, but it's not. They're interesting because you get access to CEOs of public companies from every ilk, including the first one I ever went to. I met the guy who started Hurley.
Oh, wow.
Bob Hurley, who was the right hand of the guys who started Quicksilver.
Right.
He was at a Microcap conference trying to raise money for his new company that had the words on the side of his board shorts.
So if I walk up to you, let's say I'm Hurley, and we're just starting out.
Yeah.
Do I walk up to you and just say, hey, I'd love to have a conversation about you investing in my company?
Yeah. I say, what's the business? Wow. Hardest question to answer.
So it's like Shark Tank, but just like walking
Little
around.
mini Shark Tanks.
Yeah.
Little mini Shark Tank.
But it's what's the business question is always the one that they can't answer. Well, what's the business? Well, we're gonna get how?
Yeah.
What's the business? Well, they're gonna come in.
One sentence, right? I mean, you just gotta nail it.
We're the only fill in the blank that can fill in the blank. There are the boys right there.
It is the Big Biz Show. Continues inside the Loft 100 studios. As always, we appreciate you being along for this crazy roller coaster ride. Hope everyone's having a great day. I am Costa. That is Marybird Godwin right there. I believe that's third base at a blackjack table. Greg Todorov,
That's
our
exactly
executive
right.
producer.
Yeah.
And a hell of a third baseman, I
Thank
tell
you.
Sully.
Thank you.
That's right.
Yeah. Or the guy sitting at the end of the bar. One of the two.
Totally.
Let's talk economic impact in one lump sum in one big day, and that is the big game, the Super Bowl.
Coming up.
Coming up. I can't wait.
$1.3 billion in direct economic impact for the city of New Orleans. Direct spending close to $300 million. A tax revenue base of $130 million.
Yeah.
And that doesn't count the beignets and the powdered sugar.
Not at all. Or the gumbo, or the muffalettas, or the po' boys, or all that
Have
good
you been
stuff.
to a Super Bowl?
I have. I've been to many.
Really?
Have you really?
What's your favorite?
I've never been to a Super Bowl.
I haven't either.
Really?
Not once.
It's my first Super Bowl as a kid when my uncle was still coaching for the Raiders, and it was up in
It
Pasadena.
was a Fritos Bowl that was
Super Bowl,
filled with
yeah.
bean dip.
Super Bowl 11, and you'll love this. The halftime entertainment was Up with People.
I have
Sully
been
was
to.
probably there.
I have been to a Super Bowl.
That was you.
Forgot.
But now it is now just such a massive corporate event. The Super Bowl is not for the normal football.
It's almost the NFL gets into town and it's like it's political.
Yeah.
I mean, because they can look. I mean, here in San Diego, we had a fishing industry here in San Diego for many years in the 50s and 60s.
Right.
That was which represented about in those dollars about $1 billion in economic impact. Fishing got dried up. Then we had aerospace. We created the Scud missile, the Patriot missile.
Yep.
Places like General Dynamics and Hughes and Convair. That dried up. Here comes beer, craft brewery,
yeah.
same economic
Took over
impact.
this town.
Or you could also have a Super Bowl come to your town if you're in Miami, a San Diego, a New Orleans. There's probably two other cities I'm missing here that creates that kind of economic impact on top of the regular economic impact.
Total.
Yet every study sort of shows that there isn't political will in terms of citizenry wanting to build stadiums to bring Super Bowls in.
And there's, in San Diego, I know that there's still a lot of people, who wants that? The traffic's going to increase. All these fuzzy foreigners from out of town, who wants them walking through the gas lamp, spending all their money type of thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, and I just can't help it only because of the thing is what I do for a living. If I go to Petco Park here in San Diego, you go, in Detroit, wherever you go to Yankee Stadium in New York, you go to what is the field in Dallas? It's teeming.
AT&T Stadium.
It's teeming with economic activity. I went to London last year to see the Phillies play the Mets.
Right.
At the I was more excited to get to go to
Wimbledon.
No, not Wimbledon. I get to go to the pitch that.
The Hotspurs are playing on?
No, what's the show that we all love?
Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso field. I was more excited about that than I was about the game.
What field is that? What's that
I
called?
forget what it's called. It was but it was the same field they shoot on. So I was so excited.
That's
So
cool.
The blue and the red. But what's interesting, it teams with economic impact. Okay, and I was talking about this the other day when I was called into the office of Dean Spanos along with another radio personality, and they asked how should we change the way we communicate. And I was doing afternoon drive radio at the time, and Steve Hartman was doing his regular stuff. And we said, stop calling it Charger Stadium.
Yeah.
Doesn't the NFL have a responsibility to change the way it's pitching these facilities to the public? Because,
Of course.
to Mary, we're lining the pockets of a billionaire, aren't we? By letting him have a stadium. Yes or no?
Well, yeah.
No, we're not, though. I'll tell you why. It's a civic asset. Let me tell you why. Let me tell you San Diego Stadium, before it was torn down, built in 1965 with 100% taxpayer dollars for $25 million, hosted Poinsettia Bowls, hosted Billy Graham, hosted Major League Baseball, hosted monster truck races, hosted concerts, Paul McCartney, Cheap Trick. Have I mentioned the Chargers once?
No.
Not one time. It made the city a better place to live.
Well, yes.
However, the Chargers were the biggest tenant, paying the most money to use it. How in the world was it? Well, the problem was it wasn't lining the pockets of a billionaire, but the Spanoses, like every other owner in the NFL, wants to call it Mike Costa Stadium.
Yeah.
It's the Dallas Cowboys Stadium. It's much more than, it's a civic asset. And I don't understand why the NFL can't get the message across to get, I'm bitching about San Diego. Look at Staples Centers. We talked about the other day. In concentric circles, Staples Centers has affected the real estate prices of places that were condemned 20 years ago.
The pitch should be, the first thing out of somebody's mouth who's going to try to sell, we need a new stadium is here. The NFL is only going to, on an average, use this place for 10 Sundays or Saturdays out.
A year.
That's it.
That's it.
And people forget that you get, like here at the Loft 100 Studios, CEOs come in and they do talks to their shareholders or their companies. And there's so many more events that go on inside those stadiums. People forget about it. It may not be on the field, it may not fill the bowl, but there's
But when you're talking about taxpayer money and you're talking about floating a bond, I think it's important to get the message out.
They're raking it.
Because look, we're calling it Charger Stadium, but they're also the biggest payer of rent to that stadium.
Yeah.
But that's
that message lost.
Was completely lost
when it mattered.
Right.
Before the Chargers.
Exactly right. And the NFL put its heels in the sand, as it's doing with many cities.
Yeah.
And saying we're not going to have a Super Bowl in your city until you increase your digital. No more analog. No more. I mean, you've got to bring
state of
the art, or we're not coming.
No.
And they have enough money, and they make enough. I mean, even a Monday Night Football creates some kind of impact.
Oh my God, the Sunday nights and the Monday nights here in San Diego, we had a football team. That's all, and you felt it in the air. It's all people
when we had a football team.
Can we talk about the night that I forget what teams played, but it was on Netflix and Beyonce did the halftime?
Yeah.
Did you see this?
That was the Cowboys.
It was a better halftime than the Super Bowl halftime. It was
you bring
good, and
you bring up
Netflix
a good,
paid for that thing, and it was worth it.
But you bring up a good point, because the point is, even in Major League Baseball, even though I hate the announcers on Apple, it's a much better game to watch.
Sure.
Because Apple's in 1000D.
Yeah, right.
Whatever it's called. They've got, in the lower third, they've got percentage of him getting drunk last night and also striking out right now. I mean, they've got the great, they'll say his percentage of hitting a double right now is this. His percentage of striking out is this.
Yep.
It's so much, I think the difference is good. It doesn't have to be big three anymore, or big four now.
No. And people will always listen to the Vin Scully's call the game. They want that traditional, no nonsense, no jokes, no laughter, anecdotes, and call the game. But to your point about percentage of him hitting a home run versus him getting drunk last night.
That gets more people engaged.
Thank you. And that's what people want. It's entertainment.
Yeah, right.
So did Netflix how did that work out? That they just...
Netflix has a deal. Amazon's got a deal.
Okay, so they're all
Apple's
getting
got
deals.
a deal. And it's not just football, it's baseball and everything else. How do you feel about Tom Brady in the calling booth with the other guy with great hair?
Oh, medium.
Yeah, me too.
I like the old guy.
Good golly.
Greg Olson.
Good
Greg Olson.
golly.
I thought Greg Olson was great.
Oh, Keith
Jackson.
Oh yeah.
We got ourselves a gin dandy.
Yeah.
No.
What happened to those? Well, it's almost like Paul Harvey in talk radio.
Totally.
What happened to those?
No, it's more conversational. It's like you dumb it down for the masses and stuff. But I think Tom Brady is a co-owner of my beloved Raiders, so I love Tom now. But light years, Greg Olson is light years better as an analyst than Tom Brady is.
Is anybody tired of the
Chiefs?
Howie Long show?
Fox?
Of the 75 guys that
there's a lot
talk with
of
their
them.
hands.
Yeah.
And
The Fox pregame
fighting
show.
over, talking over each other.
Fox pregame show is now God's waiting room. Unfortunately, it is time. It's time to move on. I tell you, Rich Eisen, who I think is the best in the frickin' business, the NFL Network's pregame show, week in, week out, is the best.
Well, it used to be Chris Berman, and it used to be Stuart Scott, and ESPN,
But
the whole thing.
that show is funny. It's creative. They have great segments. They're not boring.
It's not self-congratulatory.
No, and they don't get hung up in the
Howie
X's
Long,
and
you were
O's.
popular in 1986.
He's a beloved Raider. I get it, but it's time to go, boys. Time to go.
I think so too. If we had to, Mary, knowing what you know now, do you think a city should, if there's multi-uses, should a city back a multiplex sports facility with taxpayer dollars?
I definitely think so.
I think so too. Because
I am really sad that we don't have one here.
And at the end of the day, I think a lot of voters that didn't vote for a stadium here in San Diego are lamenting that now that the Chargers are gone. And Look, the Chargers pulled a fast one because they thought that they were going to be worth $1 billion by moving north to LA. And for the first 5 years, there was 27 things to watch in LA as far as sports goes, including girls field hockey. They were number 28.
So I have a question though. Do we think that, I didn't think that LA was going to embrace them, but it seems a little bit like they have.
That's what I'm saying. It's totally
right?
turned
or
around.
have they not?
They've got a bunch of people. They need their own stadium, don't they?
They do.
And they need to
That
come
is
back.
a bummer.
And where do they need to come back to?
Well, Stan Kroenke is still the king. That's the owner of the Rams.
He also paid for it himself.
Yeah, they're secondary to the Rams, right?
And they're still secondary to Raiders, who are still the most popular.
And you know what they are also? They're dead. They're dead to me.
Dead to me. Right.
Dead. They're dead to me. I don't have a football team. I have my Chiefs. The Chiefs?
I'm going Chiefs.
Oh, come on.
We're going Chiefs.
Yes, baby. Yeah.
Bandwagon.
How about them Raiders?
Yes. They were bad. I get it. Just so unfair. We are in over 175 countries in all the ships at sea on the American Forces Network. That's one way to find the Big Biz Show. And as always, thank you to the brave men and women of our United States Armed Forces for what you do, what you've done for us. Thank you to the Day Trader Trio for that wonderful music. Costa Mary Godwin, our executive producer is Greg Todorov. And right there is Sully.
Samuel Reich, CEO, chairman of SAB Bio. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Their stock symbol, SABS, is about to join us. We get an email from a shareholder? Or?
Oh, yeah, viewer.
Check
these guys out.
What do they do?
No clue.
Such a liar.
That's why Sam's here.
Such a liar. Sam, welcome to the program. You had no idea what you were getting into here, did you, pal?
Thank you for having me.
Well, clearly the most handsome CEO we've ever seen, because Mary's silent.
Yeah.
Hey, give us an introduction. Is it SAB or is it SAB? Or either
We
one?
call it SAB Bio, although both get used.
Okay, very good. Talk to us about what you guys do.
So we are a biotech company focused in therapeutics with the area of our focus is autoimmune conditions where the patient has autoantibodies attacking some part of themselves. And right now we're focused in type 1 diabetes, which is a major unmet problem all over the world. And it is an autoimmune disease which is caused by antibodies that attack the patient's pancreas and destroy their ability to make their own insulin.
So your lead therapy, SAB 142, does what exactly, and where are we in the arc of the story with the FDA and so on and so forth?
So SAB 142 is an anti-thymocyte globulin or an anti-T cell medicine, and what it does is kind of dials back the immune system so that it stops attacking the pancreas. And we have just announced data from phase 1. So we announced really great data on Tuesday morning from a phase 1, which means we're ready for phase 2. And the goal with this drug and what we hope to show, and what phase 1 has pointed us in the direction that we're confident it'll show, is preserve the patient cells that allow them to make their own insulin, because it's getting attacked in this disease state. And so we want to give the patients a medicine to keep those cells so they can continue to make their own insulin.
Sam, is diabetes getting better or worse? I mean, I feel like we're all trying to dip our toe into everything about ageism and eating better and exercising more, but yet it still persists. Is it, in your mind, how are we doing as a country and in the world in terms of diabetes?
Well, these new medicines that you've heard of are really major breakthroughs, but I want to point out those are for type 2 diabetes.
Right.
Type 2 diabetes are metabolic conditions that are often sort of caused by being overweight or not exercising enough. And,
lifestyle diseases, so to speak. Right?
Lifestyle disease, whereas type 1 diabetes can strike anyone at any time, and the incidence is increasing. It's an autoimmune disease, not a metabolic disease. So no matter how healthy any patient is, they could still get it. And patients can be diagnosed as early as infancy, but they can also be diagnosed as adults. So today, which is something that's changed over time, today the majority of patients that are diagnosed are adults. And so, but the average age of diagnosis is 13. And it's really a life-forming diagnosis.
Wow.
Sam Reich, the CEO, chairman of SAB Bio. Their ticker symbol is SABS. Sam, you mentioned issues with people with pancreatic cancer, and whatnot. How many people are affected if you know, across the United States? And is it still pretty much like death sentence when somebody comes in and says, "Hey, this is the issue,"
or life shortening,
excuse me?
So there are 1.4 million Americans that have type 1 diabetes, and there are 65,000 new diagnoses a year.
Wow.
And it has a massive impact on both their quality of life on a day-to-day basis, as well as long-term complications. So it first of all, on a day-to-day basis, getting a type 1 diabetes diagnosis means that there's a constant fear of having hypoglycemia or hyperglycemia, and it is often, the analogy is trying to live your life while bouncing a balloon in your left hand.
Oh my gosh.
What you have to do to exercise. Parents have a lot of fear that something's going to happen to their child in the middle of the night and complain of sleepless nights.
Right.
Even with managing the disease with sensing glucose and using insulin, which has come a long way, the complications of having type 1 diabetes are similar to what you know with type 2 diabetes, that patients can lose limbs, they can go blind from diabetic retinopathy, they have a very high incidence of chronic kidney disease. So on average, many years of lives are lost to type 1 diabetes.
Hey, Sam, I've heard of dialysis as treatment. Is that for type 1 diabetes? And would this SAB 142 work in conjunction with that, or to try to prevent that?
Dialysis is for chronic kidney disease and kidney failure,
okay,
which the likelihood of it going up is very high in a patient with type 1 diabetes. So I think I might get the statistic wrong, but so I won't give you an absolute number, but a significant percentage of patients on dialysis are diabetic, and that's how they ended up there.
Yeah.
Wow. So Sam,
so this could prevent, effectively managing blood sugar by keeping the beta cells of the pancreas, which is what our drug does, is going to keep people out of the dialysis center.
Yeah. Okay.
So Sam, if I'm understanding this correctly, type 1 is more of a genetic thing, or do we know the root cause?
It is, if someone has an immediate family member with type 1 diabetes, their likelihood of getting it goes up significantly. But it could be genetic, it could be environmental, we really don't know. And many patients who get it diagnosed with type 1 diabetes do not have a family member that has it.
Hey, talk about what's next for 2025. What are you looking forward to most? Because this is, it's an exciting time based on your press releases and everything else that's happening.
Yeah, so we're getting ready to start a global clinical trial that we're calling a phase 2B. It's called the Safeguard study, where we will enroll newly diagnosed patients with type 1 diabetes. And getting that study up and running in Australia, in Europe, in the UK, and in the US is a heavy lift that we're on track to do, and have that study enrolling patients in by the middle of the year. And that'll provide definitive efficacy proof that we can use with the FDA to get the drug approved, but also to show the doctors and the patients and the families that there's a drug on the way that could be a big help.
If nothing else, in conducting due diligence on this, the safety profile, it makes it really important to patients. And then also, let's face it, you guys are undervalued here. This is a strong time to take a look at you guys as a company. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, the safety profile is particularly interesting because there's a drug that works, that has been shown to work in multiple clinical trials, called thymoglobulin, which has some safety problems. It makes the patient sick. It's called serum sickness, and it can't be redosed. And so our drug solves for that problem, is we have the same mechanism of action, and we proved that when we announced our data as thymoglobulin without making the patient sick. It's much so that is a huge improvement over what's out there, and we have confidence in efficacy because of that other drug.
It's the right place, right time. You got to have you back on the air, man. This it's fascinating, especially so we don't get to talk.
Sam Reich is the CEO, chairman of SAB Bio. Again, their ticker symbol is SABS. Website sab.bio. Sam, appreciate the visit. And yes, we will get you back on.
Absolutely.
Very soon. Okay, there's much more to come with the Big Biz Show, so you're not going anywhere. You're staying here. See you in a minute.
It's like the mob.
That's right. Biz Show from sunny Southern California, Loft 100 Studios.
You just got lucky.
I did. Yep. Costa is here at the bar, as is Mary Godwin. Our executive producer is Mr. Greg Todorov. And of course, the big cheese is Sully.
Great to have you along today. Very excited to announce that Maria Maccecchini is going to be a regular on this program going forward here.
Nice.
As the founder, president, and CEO of Annovis Bio. Their ticker symbol is what, Mike?
It is A and V as in victory, S.
Yes.
ANVS.
AnnovisBio.com. What's really interesting here is we're talking about the progression of Alzheimer's disease, but we're also talking about an interesting medley of drugs to battle that. And I've had a lot of conversations with Maria in the meantime. Maria, thanks for coming on the air with us and taking time. I know you're busy going through that, but can you take us from the top for the people that didn't get to see you last time about really what you guys are accomplishing there, because it really is novel, and it's a different approach, and it's actually working.
Well, we are trying very hard to come up with something that works. And yes, we do have a different approach because we are attacking more than one toxicity in the brain. Alzheimer's is not given by one single thing. I mean, a lot of different insults can deteriorate the brain, and we are just trying to attack them all. And so in our data, in over 1,000 patients, we have seen really good results.
Maria, when we speak of Alzheimer's, there are so many unfair labels out there, and people think, the person's going crazy, or this is happening, that is happening. As a society, are we coming more to grips with exactly what Alzheimer's really is and how it not only affects the patient, but affects the family as well?
I actually think the U.S. is one of the better countries. If you go to a lot of southern countries, you go to South America, you go to Southern Europe, you go to Africa, Alzheimer's sometimes is seen as that the devil got you.
Yeah.
That you are getting stupid and the family hides you. And that's terrible for the patient, because while they're slowly disappearing as a human being, they're losing their capabilities, they're still humans. And they still enjoy mostly music, they enjoy the children, they enjoy the grandchildren very, very much. So the US in that respect is more open-minded. We have made huge progress in seeing Alzheimer's as a disease and not as a curse.
Maria, it's so good to see you again. Welcome back to the program. I wanted to ask you about the phase 3 study that you have going on with the early stage Alzheimer's and where we're at with that.
Well, we finished it. We actually finished the study, one study. The FDA always wants 2 studies. We finished one study and we saw that in early Alzheimer patients, we have really nice data. Okay, patients do respond really well, better than standard of care. So now we went to the FDA, we told them we'd like to repeat it, we'd like to do another study, and we'd also like to do longer study, because the study we did is short term. So I know the drug works for 3 months. What happens at 6 months? What happens at 18 months? What happens when you take the drug for a long time? So that's the next study. We're starting that study next week.
And so it's something that you're not necessarily curing it, because maybe that doesn't even exist, but it helps with the symptoms of Alzheimer's.
I don't know.
Until the study starts.
Better than just helping with the symptoms. We just did a 3-month study in 350 patients. Okay, that seems like a lot of patients, because when you take, I don't know, vitamin B, or you take whatever homeopathic thing, they tested it in 12 patients. Well, the placebo effect is huge. So we tested it in 350 patients for 3 months. That is not enough to answer the question you just asked me. I have to test it in 750 patients for 18 months, and then I will answer your question.
Hey, Maria, I've got a question about Buntanetap And the fact of the matter is, this is all about toxic proteins, and it's about nerve cells that are delicate, and it's about inhibiting, I guess, the production of these proteins. I think that's the real culprit here. Correct? Talk about how it works for the laymen that are listening.
Well, so whenever the brain, anybody's brain gets injured, that could also be a traumatic brain injury, it could be whiplash, it could be falling on your face. Whenever the brain gets injured, and it can get injured also by mercury, by zinc, by heavy metals, by chemicals, by everything. Okay, too many carrots will injure your brain. So when it gets injured, the nerve cells react, and they make these proteins that supposedly protect them. And at low doses, these proteins do protect them. But at high doses, they're toxic. There are too many. It's like you let an army loose, and all of a sudden the army is so big and it turns against you. And that's really what happens. And so we have to get rid of those toxic proteins that are excited when the brain gets injured. And that's what we're doing.
The last time you were on the air, you talked about the intersection of your therapies and Viagra. Can you bring us back to light on that? Because we got an awful lot of email on that, and tell us what that means.
Well, if you think of health, I'm a very simplistic person. Health, what is health? Health is good diet. Everybody will tell you that. Well, what is good diet? That's good sugar metabolism. The brain needs just enough sugar, not too little, not too much. Okay, what is good sugar metabolism? It's GLP-1 agonist. All the stuff people take for diabetes, for weight loss, it regulates sugar. Okay, so I want good sugar metabolism. We decided to take Trulicity because it goes into the brain. What else is health? Well, health is movement, exercise. It's good blood circulation. What increases blood circulation is hypertensive drugs. What is a hypertensive drug? Viagra is one. And it goes into the brain. Again, we wanted something that goes into the brain. So if we compare Trulicity, Viagra, and our drug, we get much better outcome in cognition in mice. We would like to do that in humans, but the fact that sugar, blood flow, and Buntanetap, because it protects nerve cells from dying, together get really good outcomes, yes.
Your IP library is growing by leaps and bounds. During this next study, what's your strategy next? As a CEO of a biopharma, what do you do next during this, other than just sit back and wait and hope and pray everything's going to work right? You're working on the next thing, aren't you?
Well, I wish I could do that, yes. You know, interesting enough, we are small, and starting a clinical trial like the one we're starting, well, we started it, but the first person will be enrolled next week, maybe Friday, but let's give it Monday or Tuesday. It's so much work. It's ridiculous that really and honestly, I don't have too much time to do anything else. But if you think in terms of any drug, be that for cardiovascular, be that for cancer, be that for infections, you know, HIV is a combo. And even vaccines, quadrivalent vaccines work a lot better than single-valent vaccines because we get rid of 3 or 4 different viruses at the same time. So yes, combinations is going to be my next way to go because I really believe that combinations are going to maybe cure a disease like Alzheimer's disease.
For you, does if this study goes in the direction that we're thinking it's going to go positively, when do the gates go open for compassionate care discussions and so on and so forth? Because you realize you're changing the whole world here if things go the way we think they're going to go.
We don't have compassionate care for 2 reasons. One is FDA reality, and the other is legal reality. So the FDA reality allows you for compassionate care if you are almost dead. Okay, if there is nothing out there and you're almost dead. In Alzheimer's, they're drugs. They're not very good, but they're drugs. And if you had an orphan indication where theoretically our drug would work, even though we don't have any data, we could probably go for compassionate use, but then the lawyers say don't do that. Because if the person dies, she died on your drug. So we hope to have an NDA, and therefore we'll be close to marketing in summer of 26, and then for short term, and then for long term in summer of 27.
And Maria, one last question before we let you get out of here today. But when you take this to market, is it a risk reduction sort of model where a bigger pharma would come in and take over the drug and bring it to the market, or would you guys bring it all the way to the goal line yourselves?
That depends on whether I am high energy or low.
She is Dr. Maria Maccecchini. She's the founder, president, CEO of Annovis Bio. Their ticker symbol is ANVS, and the best news is she's going to be a regular here on the Big Biz Show. Doctor, thank you so much for the time. Again, Annovis Bio, ticker symbol ANVS. Keep it right here. Much more to come with the Big Biz Show. What's going on, everybody? Hope you're having a great day. We certainly are, because you are along for the ride known as the Big Biz Show. Hope everybody's having a good one inside the Loft 100 studios. That music you hear is from the uber talented Day Trader Trio. Love those guys. I'm Costa Bear Godwin, and right there is Sully.
Our next guest is going to be so proud of me.
What'd you do?
Well, I met Shep Hyken through keynote speaking, and he's one of the most prolific keynote speakers in the country. He's one of the guys that I consider not only a friend, but a mentor. And one of the things he taught me very early on was when you get contacted by a speaker's bureau or an event planner, you respond immediately. No, I'm gonna wait a minute. I got an email yesterday at 3 o'clock, and at 3.00.30, I responded back with my domestic keynote fee, saying fully commissionable, what my travel thing was, and I got the gig overnight as a result. Huh? Are you proud papa there, Shep?
Look at that.
I'm so excited for you. Congratulations. And I have a great story that goes almost the same. And by the way, people are blown away. They'll say, I didn't even hit the send button. You already responded. But one of the reasons,
right?
Yeah, a friend of mine who is a friendly competitor did not get the gig, and the client simply said they didn't respond as quickly as you did.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy. Well, and what's funny is I'm being asked more and more. I think keynote speaking is back, and they can't decide whether they want to talk about negotiation of the economy or a thing I call the 1 hour advantage or living your life in 15-minute increments. So, and what's interesting is there's a bevy of people that can talk about what we talk about, right? There's not just us. And when an event planner goes to a speaker's bureau, they're offering up what's going to make them look the best and serve the client's needs the best. And then you got to float to the top of that. But what I'm finding very interesting is keynote speaking and events are coming back in such fervor post-COVID that they're just getting the deal booked and conducting their due diligence ahead of time, as opposed to what it was like a number of years ago, where you went through a vetting process, then you went through an interview and then a pre-interview, and then you went through a final interview with the client. And the last 3 deals, I haven't had to do that at all. And I don't know if that's changing or not, Shep. Is that just luck of the draw, or is that just the way the industry's going?
Two or three things. Number one is the client's booked toward the last minute. It's like 3 months, 2 months, where it used to be 6 months to a year, maybe even longer. That's number one. Number two, because of the internet, they can do a lot of due diligence before it ever gets to the committee. Somebody who's assigned to choose 5 or 6 speakers to consider narrows it down to 1 or 2 almost immediately before they hand it off to the decision makers. And number three, like I say, quick to respond, show them what you got, show the level of professionalism. It builds confidence. By the way, this is appropriate for any business.
This is customer service. This is customer service is what we're talking about here. I'm making myself high speed, low drag, easy use, and that's really what the customer is looking for in this case, right? So we can apply this anywhere, correct?
Everywhere. Frictionless is the goal.
Your first sort of resolution for 2025 customer service resolutions is respond quickly.
Yeah.
Which is critical, I believe.
It's so easy and it's table stakes. And by the way, those resolutions, I actually kind of made a joke about it. They really shouldn't even be resolutions. They're just table stakes. And every one of these is free. They don't cost anything. How much does it cost to respond quickly?
Nothing. Right.
Yeah.
Shep Hyken, Chief Amazement Officer, Shepard Presentations. He's a customer service expert, also a leading keynote speaker in the country. He's the author of the book, I'll Be Back, How to
Among
Get Customers
others. Among others.
Back Again and Again. Yeah, this is like one of the 58 books he has.
He's also a guitar aficionado. We need to get you in San Diego, Shep, again here.
Yeah.
I want to play. I want to play with the band.
Anytime. All you do is come out.
Shep, one thing I noticed, particularly around the holidays when it was really busy, and if I had customer service issues with items that I purchased, I would get an almost immediate response if I emailed customer service. They would reply immediately and say, we've gotten your email, we hear you, we are a little backed up because it's the holidays and we will get back to you within 24 hours. Or they gave the window to when I would expect. So is this kind of in line with what you're saying, that they want to give us that we hear you right away, even if they can't come back with the answer right away?
Yeah, and that's number one, is show them that they received. Number two, did they respond in the time they promised?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're asking me. Yes, they did.
Yeah.
Yes, they did.
They
and I paid attention.
Right.
I said, I do that boomerang effect where I send the email back to myself to see if they've replied in the time, and they did.
Yep. So tell them you're gonna make them wait, and then don't be late.
I think, remember, where this stuff went off the rails is when service bureaus came out, Shep. I think when we saw call centers come out, as opposed to calling Sears and Roebuck and asking about the $30 charge on your Sears Roebuck charge card and getting somebody in Chicago, Illinois, 60609 building out there. Instead, now a lot of this is serviced out. How reasonable is it for us to see as customers things that we want to see as small businesses? Because it's easy as a small business, I think, to tell your employees to treat your customers the way you want to be treated, to create an employee advisory board, so on and so forth. But what about top-down type stuff that we deal with every single day? The Visas of the world that we have to call, the UPSs of the world that we have to call, so on and so forth.
And so your question is, like, they're offshoring and having an outsourced customer experience?
Is it moving back to more personable experiences?
Well, I think it is. Number one, it is moving back towards more personable experiences because AI allows the rep to get data on you from your prior experiences with the company. So if you're talking to a company you've bought from before, the rep should know, hey, thanks for doing business. So they're able to personalize it. Number two, if they do decide to outsource, not necessarily offshore, but outsource and subcontract that service experience to an outside call center, if you will, those people need to be properly trained. The company needs to do its due diligence and determine, is this the experience that I want my customers to have? And it should be seamless. The customer should never know they're dealing with somebody that's not part of the company.
Shep, this is a situation that I've encountered a couple of times, and I've always wondered, and I'm glad maybe you can answer for me. If I get somebody and I know that I've called a call center, and I literally cannot understand what they are saying to me, is it okay to say, listen, I can't understand what you're saying. Can you please pass me on to another phone attendant?
I mean, I've had that said just recently where there's a thick accent, and it's tough sometimes. And by the way, they think we have a thick accent too because I was trying to read my email address back.
They'd be saying the same
so I think it's
get a little Karen.
How do you play that?
I think it's reasonable to be friendly and make the request, but this is what's really cool. There is new technology that turns that thick accent, and by the way, to them, they don't have the accent, to your point. But whatever accent they do have, it will turn it into match the accent you have.
No way.
You from New York? Are you from Mississippi? And you're talking to somebody over in India.
Who am I talking to here?
Do you know who I am? Shep Hyken, Chief Amazement Officer, one of the greatest keynote speakers out there.
Love you, brother. Thank you, man. Can't wait to see you.
Including I'll Be Back. Shep, thank you for the time. Speaking of time, we are done plumb out of it. Thanks to everybody who makes this show possible. And mainly, thank you for being here along for the ride. It is a Big Biz Show. We'll see you next time.